Ozzie Smith ready for the flip, and we're ready to start the season. Here we go. The 40-year-old shortstop.
You knew something electric was about to happen the second he flipped into frame. Not jogged, not walked, flipped. Ozzie Smith wasn't just a shortstop, he was a show. A magician with a glove who made impossible plays look routine. The Wizard of Oz didn't just play baseball, he hypnotized it. We're talking 13 straight gold gloves, 15 all-star nods, nearly 8,400 assists, and enough jaw-dropping plays to make an entire infield jealous. But this video, it's not just about the flash. It's about legacy, about greatness, about whether the Wizard, despite a career batting average of .262, was truly the best to ever own the six-hole. We're stacking him up against baseball immortality. Ripken, Jeter, Wagner, Banks, A-Rod, legends. But did any of them control the dirt quite like Ozzie? Let's find out. Before he was the Wizard, before the backflips and the gold gloves, Ozzie Smith was just a skinny kid from Mobile, Alabama, born the day after Christmas, 1954. One of 6 children, sharing everything but space. His father worked as a sandblaster for the Air Force, hands permanently rough from honest labor. Future big leaguer Amos Otis lived just down the street, but back then, not even a fortune teller would have predicted South Alabama was nurturing 2 diamond legends on the same block. When Ozzie was 6, the Smith family moved to South Central LA. Not the Hollywood version, the real one. This was mid-60s Watts, right before the riots. The National Guard rolled tanks down their street, as Ozzie and his family sometimes slept on the floor to dodge stray bullets. That's the environment he came out of. Not just a tough neighborhood, but a literal war zone. His mother was the foundation. Unbreakable, unwavering. She drilled into him education and self-discipline when the streets offered deadlier alternatives. At the local YMCA, he found sanctuary. That's where the backflip was born. Not as a baseball showpiece, but as a kid, finding joy in movement when the world around him stood still in fear. By high school, baseball had become his oxygen. He was the shortstop, of course, and at first base, Eddie Murray. Yes, that Eddie Murray. The field was stacked with future Hall of Famers, but even then, Ozzie's gloves stood out. The hands were quick. The instincts were scary. The flash, already there. Despite his natural talent, colleges weren't exactly lining up to offer him scholarships. At 5'9" and barely 150 pounds, scouts saw him as too small, too slight. But Cal Poly San Luis Obispo took a chance on the kid with the magical hands. There, Ozzie refined his craft, turning raw talent into disciplined skill, all the while earning his degree in business administration, keeping that promise to his mother about education first. In 1976, the Detroit Tigers drafted him, but Ozzie did something few kids from his background would risk. He turned them down, bet on himself, and returned to college. 1 year later, the Padres gave him another shot, and this time, he jumped. By 1978, he was in the big leagues. First season, .258 average, 46 RBIs, 1 lonely home run, but man, that glove. The fans saw it, the players felt it, and in 1980, he set the single-season record for assists by a shortstop, 621. No, that's not a typo, that's not even human. That's a shortstop essentially saying, hit anywhere near me, I dare you. Then in 1982, everything changed. The Padres traded him to the St. Louis Cardinals in a 6-player deal that would go down as one of the most lopsided in baseball history. New city, new uniform, new magic. That's when the legend truly began. But to really understand Ozzie's greatness, you've got to understand what he fundamentally changed about the game itself. Before the Wizard, shortstop wasn't glamorous. It was the sweat zone. It was the just don't mess it up position until Ozzie flipped the script, making it watchable. Year after year, the glove was gold, literally and figuratively, as he turned a once-forgotten position into a highlight reel. Start with the hardware. 13 straight gold gloves from 1980 to 1992. That's not dominance, that's dictatorship. Pitchers trusted him like a second catcher. Managers built entire game plans around his range. Opposing hitters knew that if the ball was hit anywhere near short, it was as good as gone. Dig into the raw numbers, and it gets almost comical. Ozzie accumulated 8,375 career assists, the most ever by a shortstop. That's not just volume, that's range, consistency, and baseball IQ all colliding in every inning he played. But forget the numbers covers for a second. It was the how, the lightning-quick pivots, the bare-handed grabs, the double-play turns with a runner barreling down on him like a freight train. He made the impossible look routine. So, when we say Ozzie Smith redefined what it meant to be a defensive shortstop, we're not exaggerating. If anything, we're underselling it. But here's the twist that elevates Ozzie from elite defender to all-time legend. He wasn't just a glove-first guy. He wasn't a lineup liability whose defense made up for offensive shortcomings. Far from it. He brought genuine value to the batting order, and that's what separates him from the glove-only crowd-gathering dust in baseball history. Let's be crystal clear. Ozzie Smith was never going to lead the league in home runs or slugging percentage. That wasn't his lane, and he knew it. But what he did bring was blazing speed, intelligent hitting, and clutch execution. All those little things that add up to October baseball. He finished his career with 2,460 hits, a .262 batting average, and a wild 580 stolen bases. That's elite-level table setting. And remember, this was during an era when shortstops weren't expected to do much damage at the plate. Ozzie wasn't helping his team manufacture long runs before small ball became a trendy term in broadcast booths. Then, there's 1987, the year his bat woke up and chose violence. He hit .303, scored 104 runs, and drove in 75 RBIs, all while still playing Gold Glove defense that made highlight reels overflow. That season wasn't just good, it was proof that he wasn't just a defensive specialist who occasionally got lucky at the plate. He could shoulder offensive weight when his team needed it most. And that kind of leap doesn't come from luck, it comes from grit, work ethic, and baseball IQ sharper than his throws to first. He was never the scariest hitter in the lineup, but he was the one you didn't want facing your closer in a big spot, because Ozzie knew how to make a moment count. And there's no bigger moment in baseball than October baseball, the place where legacies are cemented or shattered. So, of course, the Wizard was there, working his particular brand of postseason sorcery. Ozzie played postseason baseball like he was born for October's pressure cooker, the same swagger and precision he brought to every regular season inning, but now with championship stakes amplifying every move. The stakes were higher, so was the magic. Across 42 playoff games, Ozzie hit .236, swiped 6 bases, and delivered exactly what his team needed when conventional statistics weren't watching. But beyond the box scores, it was his ability to change the feel of a game that made him dangerous. Start with the 1982 World Series. Ozzie was the Cardinals' defensive backbone as they outlasted the Brewers in 7 games. That championship squad leaned on his glove like it was another relief pitcher, erasing rallies and flipping innings when hope seemed lost. His mere presence gave pitchers room to breathe and fans permission to believe. And just like that, the skinny kid who once dodged bullets in South Central had a diamond-encrusted ring that told a story words never could. But the real breakthrough, the myth-making moment, came in the 9th inning of Game 5 at the 1985 NLCS against the Dodgers. The game was deadlocked when Ozzie stepped into the batter's box from the left side, not even his natural hitting position, and smashed a walk-off homer. His first ever from the left side after 2,967 previous attempts without one. That shot didn't just win the game, it turned the series. And when Jack Buck's voice cracked with pure emotion as he shouted, "Go crazy, folks, go crazy."
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! It's a home run!
It wasn't just about the walk-off, it was baseball's collective realization that this man wasn't just special, he was something we might never see again. Ozzie would lead the Cardinals back to the World Series that year, and again in '87, 3 World Series appearances in 6 years. In a postseason filled with pressure and collapse, Ozzie played like he was in a backyard pickup game, cool, sharp, deadly. And after watching those playoff moments, those defensive masterclasses, those clutch hits, it's impossible not to ask the big question, the one that still sparks debates from bar stools to broadcast booths. Was Ozzie Smith the greatest shortstop of all time? To answer that properly, we need to place him beside the titans who have defined the position across baseball's rich history. Because this isn't just about accumulated statistics, it's about lasting impact, cultural influence, and the complete mastery of the game. So, let's break it down, legend by legend, and see where the Wizard truly stands. Start with Cal Ripken Jr., the Iron Man. Ripken revolutionized the shortstop mold by proving big-bodied players could handle the position. Over 3,000 hits, 431 home runs, 2 MVPs, and an unbreakable streak of 2,632 consecutive games. Unreal. But, let's be honest, his defense wasn't on Ozzie's level. Solid? Yes. Spectacular? Not even close. He won 2 Gold Gloves. Ozzie won 13 in a row. Then there's Derek Jeter, Mr. November, 5 rings, captain of the Yankees during one of the most dominant stretches in modern history. He hit .310, collected over 3,400 hits, and more big stage moments than most teams dream of. But Jeter's defense, that's where the debate ends fast. His career defensive WAR was minus 9.4. That's not a typo. Negative 9.4. That's a red flag. Statistically, Jeter hurt his team with the glove, while Ozzie built his legend on it. Some even make a case for Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, who brought serious power to the shortstop position. 512 home runs is jaw-dropping for any era, let alone the 50s and 60s. But halfway through his career, he moved to first base. The position couldn't contain his talents, or perhaps his talents couldn't sustain the position. And while his bat was never in question, he wasn't known for elite defense the way Ozzie was. You could even go further, back to Honus Wagner, the OG shortstop GOAT. The numbers are staggering: a .328 career average, 3,420 hits, and 8 batting titles. But Wagner played in the dead ball era, before the sport as we know it had fully formed. But no Gold Gloves, no All-Star games, no postseason to speak of. Respect to the pioneer, but comparing him directly to modern legends is like comparing black and white film to 4K HD. Now, Alex Rodriguez complicates the debate. As a shortstop, A-Rod was a monster. Power, speed, and range. In just 10 seasons at the position, he hit 345 home runs. His bat alone could make a case, but he's got the asterisk. The PED controversy clouds his entire legacy, and he ultimately moved to third base when he joined the Yankees. Most talented shortstop ever? Maybe. But did he redefine the position like Ozzie? Not even close. So, where does that leave us? Ozzie Smith hit just .262. He wasn't an offensive juggernaut, but he did rack up 2,460 hits and 580 stolen bases. He was a menace on the base paths, a clutch hitter in key moments, and an on-field leader who could change a game without ever swinging the bat. And then you get to the defense, and it's checkmate. Ozzie owns the highest defensive wins above replacement in baseball history at 44.2. That's not just the best mark for shortstops, it's the best for any player at any position. That number doesn't just edge out the competition, it buries them. Flair, footwork, finesse. He brought artistry to shortstop. He gave pitchers confidence. He wasn't the biggest, he didn't hit the most homers, but nobody, and I mean nobody, played short like Ozzie. Not when you add up every aspect of what makes a shortstop great. When he retired in 1996, there was no doubt, not among players, not among coaches, not among fans. Ozzie was the gold standard, and the game made sure he was recognized for it. In 2002, he was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame on the first ballot with 91.7 of the vote. Cooperstown didn't hesitate. They didn't need to. Ozzie was something rare, a talent that doesn't come around often in any sport. The Cardinals retired his iconic number 1, and outside Busch Stadium, a bronze statue captures him mid-backflip. The move that introduced a generation to defensive brilliance. That flip wasn't just a show, it was a statement. He was different, and he knew it. Ozzie made the All-Star team 15 times, won Gold Gloves 13 straight years, grabbed a Silver Slugger in 87, a World Series in 82, was NLCS MVP in 85, defined moments, created legends, inspired generations. Ask any kid who played shortstop in the 80s or 90s, and chances are they'll say the same thing. I wanted to be Ozzie. His influence is all over the next wave of defensive stars. Guys like Omar Vizquel, Andrelton Simmons, and Francisco Lindor. That flair, that range, that rhythm, all of it, Ozzie's DNA. Off the field, he stayed connected to the game. He served as an MLB ambassador, a spring training instructor, and a voice for youth baseball. He's still out there, showing love to the sport and reminding everyone what excellence looked like. But his biggest legacy, he changed what people thought shortstops could be. He proved you didn't need a big bat to be a big name. He made defense sexy. He showed that a glove could carry a team, lift a crowd, and carve a path to Cooperstown. So, when we ask, was Ozzie Smith the best shortstop of all time, the answer isn't just in the numbers, it's in the silence before a pitch. The gasp after a diving stop, the roar after a backflip, it's in the magic. Because there have been many great shortstops, but there's only ever been one wizard. So what do you think? Was Ozzie the GOAT, or is there another shortstop you'd put on the throne? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more baseball stories that bring the legends to life. Hit like if you felt the magic. Catch you in the next one.